Most Muslims are busy trying to attain the lowly achievements of this world. But if you are watching this video, I already know that's not you. You are probably someone who wants to achieve something great, not for this dunya but for the akhirah. And there's no greater achievement than seeking Islamic knowledge. So in this video, I want to go over 5 practical tips you can implement so you can understand what it actually means to seek knowledge. My life was never the same when I started this journey of seeking knowledge. I was misguided, I didn't know much about Islam, I didn't have the desire to pray often. I was absolutely lost in the dunya because that's all I knew. It was only until I learned about seeking knowledge where my entire outlook on life changed. I went from striving for the dunya to striving for the akhirah. And on top of that, I learned the purpose of life. Every Muslim has to know the answer to the question, what is the purpose of life? If you don't know the answer, then your priorities are totally messed up. The answer is what Allah said in the Quran in Surah Al-Dhariyat, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And I have not created the jinn and the mankind except to worship me alone. So our entire purpose in this world is to worship Allah alone and nothing else. But then a second question comes, how do we worship Allah? And the answer to that is seeking knowledge. If you don't know who Allah is and how to worship Him, then logically you won't actually worship Allah in the correct manner. Think about it. If you don't actually know how to do something, then you won't ever do it, or you'll do it wrong completely. So why do Muslims think they can fulfill Allah's right of worship when they don't even know their own religion? Let's ask ourselves this question. Do Muslims truly know Allah by His names and attributes? Do Muslims know how to properly pray, how to give zakah, how to go for hajj, how to fast, how to be good to parents, how to command the good and forbid the evil? If the Muslims had all of that in check, then the ummah would not be in the state we are in today. All of this shows how important it is for Muslims to be seeking knowledge. So let's get into it. The first tip is that you need to purify your intention. When seeking knowledge, your intention should be that I am learning this knowledge so I can know Allah and worship Him correctly, and so I can spread this knowledge to others so they can do the same. Your intention should not be that I'm seeking knowledge so people can look at me in amazement. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Verily, actions are but by intentions. So if you want to seek knowledge so that you can be high in this world, then Allah will give you what you intended for. But if you want to be high in the akhirah, then Allah will also give you what you intended for. And as the Salaf mentioned, intentions always have to be renewed. Always check yourself as to why you are memorizing the Quran, and why you are praying, and why you are giving charity. Is it for Allah or is it for someone else? Always doubt yourself in your intentions, because if you do that, then you will be sincere, inshallah. Moving on to tip number 2, which is, where do you start with seeking knowledge? Most brothers are confused in this regard. Should I start memorizing the Quran? Should I start with Arabic? Should I start learning Hadith? Should I start with refuting others? And the answer is simple. You should start with the obligatory knowledge that you need to do the obligations. And that goes back to 2 main sciences, Aqidah and Fiqh. Aqidah is the belief you have as a Muslim. If you don't know who Allah is, and you don't know what is Islam, and you don't know who is your Prophet, then you need to learn Aqidah. Now I just want to name a few books you can study in Aqidah. The first book is called Thalathatul Usul, the 3 Fundamental Principles by Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. And the book is basically about the 3 questions you'll be asked in the grave. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? And who is your Prophet? The second book you can study is called Kitab al-Tawheed, the Book of Tawheed by the same author. It is a book about Tawheed al-Ibadah, the Tawheed of worship. And it talks about what is Ibadah, what is Tawheed, what is Shirk, and what is Kufr by their many types. As for Fiqh, this is the subject where you learn how to actually worship Allah, how to pray Salah, how to give Zakah, etc. One book you can study is called Manhaj as-Salikin by Imam as-Sirdi. The book deals with the 5 pillars of Islam and extra rulings such as marriage and transactions. So try to learn these books from a sheikh and not just by reading it, because knowledge is taken directly from the scholars and students of knowledge whilst they're explaining it to you. Because it's very easy to get lost and misunderstand information when you don't have a teacher. I'll put in the description playlists you can listen to for each of these books. Now, as you are learning the obligatory knowledge, shift your focus to 2 things. Number 1, Hifz, and number 2, Arabic. These 2 are the foundational knowledge that all scholars advise beginners to learn, which is to memorize the Quran and learn Arabic, because these will help you study the other sciences of Islam, such as Aqidah, Fiqh, Hadith, Nahu, etc. If you memorize the Quran, then every time someone quotes an ayah, you will already be at a head start because you already memorized it. And if you learn Arabic, you can study from the scholars directly and not rely on translations for your whole life. And you can understand the Quran, the books of Hadith, and the books of the scholars. So make a commitment to memorizing the Quran daily and learning Arabic daily. If you want to start off, try to memorize 2 lines of the Quran per day and learn 3 new Arabic words per day. Then slowly keep increasing that amount until you start memorizing 1 page of the Quran daily and learning 10 new Arabic words daily. If you reach that goal, you would memorize the Quran in a year and a half, and you will learn a lot of Arabic in 1 year. And I have a free school community for people who are striving to memorize and revise the Quran. So if that sounds like you, join the community in the description below. And regarding Arabic, there's no real finish line because it's a lifelong journey. You'll find that you'll be able to read some books in Arabic, but not others. But that doesn't mean you're not progressing. As long as you learn vocab daily, you're on the right track. The third tip on how to seek knowledge is to focus on one science before moving on to the next. A lot of us try to learn many things at once, but it never produces real progress. That's the reason why you need to learn the Islamic sciences one by one. First, you study all the major books in Aqidah, and then once you understand those, then you move on to fiqh. Then you study all the major books in fiqh, and then you move on to, for example, hadith, and so on. I've tried before to study many sciences at once, but I always ended up burning out and never making any good progress. Focus is the most important aspect to seeking knowledge. So be sure to study one science at a time. Moving on to the fourth tip, which is to attain ijazat. An ijazah is a certification from a sheikh that tells you that you have learned this text or book correctly. There are many types of ijazat, but in this video, I won't go into more detail about that. The point is that after you memorize the Quran or learned a matan or memorized a book of hadith, you should get an ijazah in that. Because this is how the religion is preserved. A teacher teaches his students, those students master what they're taught, and then they teach it to their students and so on until this day today. And ijazat can also help you to get jobs in Muslim organizations because it proves that you have learned this subject correctly. Many people look down on attaining ijazat thinking it's showing off, but that's far from the truth. If you don't have an ijazah, to be blunt, you're just a guy down the street who says he memorized the Quran. But you need to prove that to the ummah so they can trust you to teach them. So the first ijazah you can focus on is for the Quran. Once you finish your Hifz, find a sheikh who can give you an ijazah and read the entire Quran to him over the span of perhaps 6 months, and then you'll get your ijazah. Moving on to the fifth and final tip, which is to make seeking knowledge your lifestyle. You need to be seeking knowledge 24/7. Now, I don't mean you have to literally sit down on a desk studying a book for 24 hours, but what I mean is that when you hear or read an ayah that you don't understand, you quickly look up the tafsir so you can understand it. And you do this out of curiosity and love for Islamic knowledge. You have to have the desire to continuously learn throughout the day, because seeking knowledge is not just limited to one session in the day. It's small efforts of research throughout the day that you do constantly. I know this may sound too extreme, but trust me, it is not as hard as you think. And you will want to do it whenever you have free time. And these small efforts compound into big results over time. Imagine every day you looked up the tafsir of one ayah you didn't understand. At the end of the month, you would understand 30 ayahs that you never understood before. In Sahih Muslim, it is reported on the authority of Yahya ibn Abi Kathir rahimahullah that he said, "La yustata'ul ilmu bi rahatil jism." Knowledge cannot be attained through the relaxation of the body. So always remember that seeking knowledge requires a bit of striving from you. Don't expect it to be relaxing all the time. So ending off this video, in order to seek knowledge, I want you to keep in mind these 5 steps. Number 1, having the correct intention to seek knowledge. Number 2, starting by learning the obligatory knowledge. Number 3, focus on one science at a time. And number 4, attain ijazat. And number 5, make seeking knowledge your lifestyle. If you benefited from this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Wassalamu alaikum.